these different signs, and those were plays because they just had to install. That's all they could do was install plays during those 20 hours of practice, meetings, weightlifting, and training room activity. Well, that worked its way into the NFL on the last collective bargaining agreement. You can only have that many hours of practice during the week. So every NFL practice cannot be longer than 2 hours and has to be taped and turned into the NFL every single day. So you can imagine how that minimizes what you can teach and what you can practice. And the running backs are no longer, the fullbacks are no longer, run blocking is no longer. The only way you get good at run blocking is to line up and run block, right? And they can't do that anymore because they don't have padded practices. In the last agreement, there's only 14 days of padded practices allowed through the entire season, right? And it's 17 weeks. So you can't line up and practice and do things. So in essence, what I can short that up and just say, what happened with the NCAA has now transformed to what we're watching in the NFL. And that's the game I'm watching now. And it's completely different than when I played, but it's still fun as heck to watch.
I'm sorry to take you back, but I want to talk about that University of Pittsburgh teams that you were on. I mean, you had a lot of Hall of Famers on that team: Dan Marino, Mark May, Chris Goldman, to name a few. What was it like practicing with those guys every day, and how much fun was that?
You know, it's funny. We go there. We're 18, 19 years old, and we're all there, and we just had a great chemistry of players. We had unbelievable athletes, and we didn't even know it. Like I said, we're kids. We're 18, 19, and this is a great place. Love this place. Love Jackie Sherrill. He's got us together. And yeah, there's a slew of Hall of Famers there: Russ Grimm, Jimbo Covert, Chris Dolman, Hugh Green, Ricky Jackson. My gosh, the guys, all 22, all 11 starters on both sides of the ball went pro. And we went there and we're 18, 19 years old, and it was an amazing time. We never got a national championship, and that hurts us and it hurts our coach to this day. But it's unbelievable, really, it is. It's unbelievable. We all stay in touch, like on a group text message with all the guys. To this day, it's not the pro players that we're talking to, and it's that group of guys. We're all on a group text message, and when it starts going, and it's pretty funny. And Coach Sherrill's a part of that.
Well, I got to ask you, your college successes obviously were amazing, but you had some good times in the NFL, especially early on. I mean, let's take a look at some of the things that you did on the field, sacking a guy like Jim Kelly. And I mean, talk a little bit about the early years when you were really making a mark in the NFL.
Yeah, so I got NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year my first year, and I think I was at a banquet or something, or a wedding or something back in Pittsburgh when I got a telegram. Yeah, that's correct. A telegram that said that I won Defensive Rookie of the Year. And of course, I didn't get anything for it back in those days, and it's a big deal now. And then 2 years after that, we went to the playoffs in 1986. And our defense was really dominant, and our special teams was really dominant, and that was the backbone of that team. And we got to the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. I got All Pro. I was first team All NFL, and then I got another Pro Bowl the year after that. And then the year after that, I had a knee injury. It was a medial collateral. It wasn't an anterior cruciate. It wasn't a big one, but it took me out for 8 games, so I had a slowdown period then. And then we changed coaches, and we kept changing coaches. Marty Schottenheimer finally landed with us in 1989, and I was the one that lobbied Carl Peterson when he was hired. I'm like, Carl, if you don't hire this guy, and he's the best available coach out there, and he taught me more about football than I knew about football. And I said, this guy is a great asset. I think he would be great for our team. And lo and behold, it ended up, we hired him. And that was really the climb that occurred throughout the 90s. We hired him in '89, and each and every year after that, the team got better and better and better.
And then transitioning into the broadcast booth, I mean, how tough was that? Because some guys, when I worked at ESPN, we got guys like Emmett Smith that didn't want to pick on people, they just wanted to go, yeah, tough game, you know, they weren't giving that insight. So I know you had a real successful run, so how was that transition?
Well, it was, so when I was playing, I did some local radio shows Mondays and Fridays.
Look at that.
Early morning. Yeah, there's Joe Buck. That was one of my first partners at Fox was Joe, and he had just got done doing the World Series. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm thinking, my gosh, this guy's like 26 years old and he did the World Series. And he came on board and we had 7 games my first year at Fox. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Well, you have that longevity as far as that, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it is so great to have you be a part of this and to be so vulnerable and talk. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little more about your career, what happened after the NFL, and again, trying to give some positive advice and some motivation. You're watching Geary, Stein Stevens Show, and of course, we've got to pay some bills, but we've also got some amazing things we're doing out of the public. So please stay with us and don't go away.
Woo!
Hi again, everybody. Dave Stevens sitting here at the home of the Hudson Valley Renegades, part of our D3-Day family over the years. And you know, we put on some amazing, and of course, it's New York, and we're continuing to need your help and your support. More information, visit D3Day.com or pulling each other along.com. Support us, donate us, check out our merchandise, and help us out. So continue to be a fan of D3Day and look to you on the road. Hi everybody, Dave Stevens with the Stein Stevens Show. It's Miami Marlins baseball. You know what? We get great stars, celebrities, and entertainers on our show, but there's all kinds of great programs. The stuff looks like it's freezing on the screen here, but it is playing out there. It freaked me out a couple of times. We're actually stopped taping, and I'm like, so. Their platform ideally matches content producers, leading viewers, smart device precision, and immersive HD experiences. Katrina, I'm gonna say, hey, one of my really investigative students wants to come over my shoulder and say, hey, Bill, can you talk about what was the lowest point?
Well, I can talk about how, because you were gonna bounce into the end of his career, transition to a different career, and that was segued in.
Check out the Geary, Stein Stevens Show.
Otherwise, I'm kind of coming out of the blue with that.
YourHomeTV.com. Tell them Dave
That's
said
great.
it.
Tell me about your worst day.
Hi everybody, Dave Stevens here for the Geary, Stein Stevens Show from Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Rays. And you know what? Not everybody can be a Major League Baseball player, but you can look like $1 million. What's the best way to do that? Well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. Don't believe me? That's right, you can look professional, feel good, and not spend a lot of money by wearing Fresh Clean Threads. They have amazing shirts. They've got Henleys and polos, long sleeves, and even bomber jackets. And if you like them, you can save some money by typing in the show code GSS Show from the Geary, Stein Stevens Show to save 20% off. So, if you can't be a major leaguer and you want to dress like one, well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. That's freshcleanthreads.com. Tell them Dave sent you. Use that code GSS Show. We are back, and of course, I am wearing my Fresh Clean Thread shirt tonight. This is my favorite shirt. I'm probably gonna have to buy more because I don't know if the pitting is getting bad yet. But Troy, how am I looking at my Fresh Clean Threads? Do I still Do I still?
Yeah, they still look sharp.
They still look sharp, so again, all right, we're back with our guest, Bill Maas, joining us, for the second part of this, and, Bill, I know you had some struggles, some ups and downs, and we really do appreciate you talking a little bit about it, kind of tell us what happened that kind of ended up taking you away from the broadcast booth and changing your life, but then now, how you were able to recover and overcome it.
Yeah, so, life does have its ups and downs, and I was in a marriage that was torn apart, went through some issues with divorce, with my children. It was nothing I would wish upon anybody. It took away every bit of my part of my day, my time, my feelings, my emotions, and it affected what I was doing. There was alcohol and drugs involved, and I was just beside myself. And the great part of it is there's well, the NFL frowned upon that, by the way. And the great part of it is that where I'm at now with my children is, I never thought I would see this time that they would be telling me they understand. Dad, we know. They understand what I went through. They understand the manipulation. They understand, and the courts never understood any of that. And it was a real tough time to go through. And for anybody that's been through that process and felt that they were wronged by the courts or mediation or all the things that go along with that, that's a tough thing to rip apart. And when you're there, if I'm 10 minutes early, I feel like I'm late to any meeting, and any time I had to go pick up my kids or meet them or deliver them, or whatever it was, I was there. And the vice versa transaction was nobody else was there. I mean, sometimes I waited 2 hours or 3 hours or didn't know what to do. There was just, it was so tough, and I just wanted to do the right things for my kids. And there were so many times I thought, why am I even trying? Why don't I just give up? Why would I even, I'm up against a court system that's favorable towards whatever a mother says. I'm paying, I'm struggling, I don't get to, and I know it's all wrong, and I know what's right. I believe I know what's right. My parents raised me. I know what it takes, and so to go through that was very strenuous. But again, by the grace of God and blessings, I'm just saying and telling you, don't give up. Right? Don't give up on anything. It took me years, and now where I'm at with my children and their love for me, because now I'm a grandfather. I'm with their kids all the time, and I'm with them, and they understand. And they go through the same issues with the other half that I battled and they battle continuously now. So, that's it.
Bill, how do you deal with, and we've all gone through our struggles, but you had to go through them publicly, the embarrassment of that, the fraternity of your football brothers and things like that. Like, how do you go from the lowest of lows to get to the point of where you are today? Because there's not a lot of success stories like yours. You did it, you beat that, you come back. So how did you get from point A to point B, to be who you are today?
I never changed. I was always me. Public perception didn't change who I am. It hurt. It was devastating. It's a blow, and everybody's going to have their opinion. But it never changed who I am. I know who I am. I knew who forever. I mean, I know how I was raised. I know who I am. I know what I believe. I know, you know, what I believe in and who I believe in, and that's never wavered. So social media, public opinion, media, all those things can be so devastating. And look, I mean, I think we've all seen that everybody can get attacked from any angles, especially in today's day and age. You just have to understand and know who you are. And if you know who you are, and you abide by that, and you live by that every single day, with you, your wife, your kids, your dogs, and your close friends, right? I mean, that's what you do every single day. It's every day it's repetitive. You get up and you do the same thing, the same beliefs, the same work ethic. That doesn't go away. So that's never changed. The attacks you can deal with, and they weren't fun. They weren't enjoyable by any means. I mean, they were devastating. They were financially hurtful, all those things. But it's just who you are, day in and day out, and that's what you have to live on. That's what you have to be, and I'm good with that. And my family's good with that. And I am. It's cool.
I want to take you back to draft day. Draft was just in Kansas City a couple of months ago. We were there. At 4, Philadelphia was there, and also at 6, the Chargers. Did you expect to get a phone call from Lamar Hunt from the Chiefs at 5?
No, at 100% not. So my hometown is Philadelphia, and I went across the state to play at the University of Pittsburgh, which was 4 hours away.
You guys bored yet?
But totally different climates, Philly and Pittsburgh.
And if you gotta leave, we're gonna wrap up here in just a couple of minutes.
So I was enthralled. I mean, just enthralled into being a Pittsburgher. And that's at that time I was a Pittsburgher. I just loved Pittsburgh and everything about it. Of course, it didn't hurt that the Steelers won 4 Super Bowls, and the Pirates just got off a couple World Series championships. But it was fun, and I saw some of that in Philadelphia too, with the Sixers and the Flyers. In 1980, the Eagles went to a Super Bowl, but there was something about Pittsburgh that I just really took to, and what it was the work ethic of the Steel City, and that was me. That's who I was. I'm going to work. I'm going to show up. I'm going to give you everything I have every day. Kind of a blue collar type guy, and here the Eagles told me we're taking you number 4 overall. I'm like, wow, I'm going to go back to Philadelphia and play in front of my hometown. That'd be awesome. Probably a lot of pressure, but that'd be awesome. Then the Chargers told me, we're taking you 6. We have a 6th pick. We're taking you. I'm like, I'm going to either be back in my hometown or I'm going to be in the beach, which isn't bad either, right? Out in California. So then Kansas City called, and I never heard from him. Honestly, never heard from him. Nothing. And I was like, wow. And what an honor it was to play and get drafted where I should have been, in a town similar to Pittsburgh, the Midwest, and work ethic and good people, good families. I really enjoyed it. And the Hunt family, Lamar, rest his soul, and now the late Norma Hunt, who just passed away. They were he would come in the locker room and come over. One time he came in, he had a sling on his arm. And he came over, he sat down in my locker room and talked to us. I said, Lamar, what happened? And he goes, I was outside raking the leaves and I fell. And I said, Lamar, what the hell are you doing raking your leaves? Right? I mean, Lamar Hunt. And, it's just that kind of attitude that he had about him and who he was and the way that he went about things. And it was just an honor to play for his family.
And speaking of attitude, I mean, you in your day, you were known for giving a good soundbite. Now, I'm hoping our equipment's working, because I work hard to find little tidbits of our guests to not embarrass them, but bring out a different side of them. So I'm gonna play this. I hope it works out because it's a legendary bite about a legendary player.
All week long, it's Bo Jackson. It's more or less, Bo Jackson run all over the Chiefs. If you make a nice sign and give you a bunch of money. It was pretty impressive, and it was an incentive for the team, I think, and so we stand for a little bit more than people come out there and laugh at us.
So I take it you weren't a big Bo Jackson fan at the time.
So, here, I gotta tell you, I hope that the soundbite went across with your group here. No, and yes. So, I got to know Bo. We would go to the Buckmasters Classic down in Alabama, and we'd hunt together yearly. It was in January. We just got done playing. He didn't go to baseball camp yet. He was done with the Raiders, and we would have competitions. I beat him in bow and arrow, actually, but I love him. But the media took this thing, he's coming into Arrowhead Stadium, and he's playing here with the Raiders. And I'm in his book, he wrote about it. I hit him pretty damn good, and he said it was the hardest he ever got hit. And Bo knows Bo. And he does. You can look it up. I'm in there. And when he came in, the Royals are just across the street from us. We're in the same sports complex, and we were all friends, and we were there for the World Series, and we went to their games, and we did charity events together. And I guess I really didn't understand it, but when the Raiders came to town, which was like our biggest rival in the AFC West at the time, all the players were on the sidelines for Bo Jackson. And now looking back, I'm like, well, he was their teammate. There's nothing wrong with that. But at that time, we were really offended, and we were upset, right? So we went out there and spanked them. And that was a big motivating factor, that everything was about Bo Jackson coming to town, and the Royals were going to be over on the Raiders sideline at Arrowhead Stadium. Well, we took it personally.
I have a few questions left to ask you, but I just want to ask you about a couple of people, and if you got a quick story. I know you brought up Marty Schottenheimer earlier. And for those that don't know, he just passed away not too long ago. What kind of excitement did he bring to the building, and did the defense embrace Marty Ball?
So, Marty brought something that was never at Arrowhead since I've been there prior.
I'm gonna play out one more question and then we'll wrap. So if you guys, if you wanna leave, great. If not, awesome, you guys are great.
53 players
Hope you're seeing how
exactly
one man can do all this crap.
at every given moment of a game. And he described it. Other coaches would tell you, on this play, you do this. On this play, you do that. On this play, you do, but they never describe what it is you're doing and why you're doing it and how it affects everybody else, offensively, defensively, and special teams. He taught us more about football than any coach I had been around on how all the parts work together. And so even on Saturday morning, we run through stuff on walkthrough. He'd say, so-and-so got hurt, who's in? If you weren't in, if you didn't run up, you got fined. Like, everybody had to know the backup positions and who goes where, and what happens if something happens. And, he just made it so much of a mental aspect of the game he brought to it for us, how it all 22 players, how everything works in unison. And that to me, and everybody else at that time for the Chiefs was really something special.
Billy,
And one more quick one
Yeah.
to ask you about, and that was one of your Fox broadcaster partners, Sam Rosen. Just give us a quick story about the great Sam Rosen.
Sam was so great. in so many ways, first of all, he's a New Yorker through and through, right? He's got his New York papers, he's got his New Jersey Bergen, he's got his sesame bagel with Swiss cheese and tomato and cream cheese. The guy is like beautiful. I love him. But he's a true pro, you know? I mean, that's a lifetime guy. Rangers, God, we love the Rangers. Crazy about
That was
the
time to
Rangers.
wrap. He threw in an extra question.
But he's just a true pro. And so when I got to work with different people, Kevin Harlan, Joe Buck, Sam Rose, and different guys throughout the years, I took something from all of them, like how they approach the game and how they think about the game. And you know, I use them for information because how they do different sports and different things and how they view it and what to bring to it and how to get in and out in a time frame with a valid point without forcing a point. If you don't have anything to say, you don't really have to say it. Like, quiet is okay. You know, you don't have to say something just because they stop. If there's nothing really to say, let it go. Talk general. Talk timing. Talk what's left in the game. Talk, you know, just different stuff. You don't have to force an opinion as a color analyst to bring something to it that's not really there.
Speaking of being quiet, speaking of being quiet, we have not heard from the third part of our party in a while, so we have a taped question from a Will Stein sighting, so sit back and listen, Bill, to this question from our good old buddy Will Stein.
Derek Thomas is one of the greatest players of all time to ever put on a Chiefs uniform, in an NFL uniform at that. What was it like to compete in practice with Derek Thomas? And what was he like as a teammate and as a fellow competitor?
So I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question, so if you could just.
Oh, he was
Okay.
he was asking you about Derek Thomas and what he was like as a teammate and as a competitor.
So I got the opportunity to play with some great people, and you know, if you ever get successful, you better look at the people around you that helped you get successful. And I had it from the get-go. When I got there, I had Art Still, I had Mike Bell on either side of me, you know, Pro Bowl players. Then when they left, we drafted Neil Smith from Nebraska, and then shortly after that, we got Derek Thomas from Alabama. And so my success continued, and theirs was even greater. I loved Derek. Everybody loved Derek. He was an amazing kind of guy. Like, I was somebody that always had to work, and I'm going to give you everything I got. Bring my hard hat and lunch pail and show up on Sundays and work. Derek Thomas had that ability, like, he'd be late to practice, he would be late to meetings, Marty would find him all the time. But on Sunday, man, look out. I mean, it was just, he might have been, you know, one of those guys that looked up to a guy like Lawrence Taylor, same kind of deal. They just had the ability, the athletic ability and the speed. They'll beat you. They know they're going to beat you. I didn't know. There was very few times I knew I was going to beat somebody working. Very few. I knew I was going to be in for a long day, and I'd battle and hope to come out on top. But Derek had the ability, and he knew he had the ability to turn it on at the flip of a switch, and he did. But he was so much fun and so energetic and so personable, and he worked so hard in the community to leave a legacy. And they still have his third and long foundation in Kansas City with Derek Thomas and Neil Smith, and Neil does a good job of continuing that for him. But it's fantastic. I love him. I love 58. Everybody loves 58. I mean, they had a funeral for him at Arrowhead Stadium, and I think the whole city showed up.
Wow. He was a special player, and again, Bill, thank you for joining us tonight, showing your vulnerability as far as, you know, the insight. Most people try to run away, but I think you gave some insight, and hopefully people can take a part of that and realize there can be success stories. No matter how low you go, there is that light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you, brother, for being a part of our show today. Troy, man, and then my audience here. How about a hand for you guys for our points? Hopefully they take some words of wisdom.
Hey, Dave, that's a great deal you're doing there. I mean, if you have these for the veterans to come in and be a part of the show and do this, I mean, yeah, that's great that they have the opportunity to hear from, I guess, all the people you have on with them. That's awesome. Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for being a part of it. Troy, any final thoughts?
Yeah, Bill, I just want to appreciate it. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy day and schedule to join us. And best of luck health-wise, and hopefully we'll see you soon in Kansas City.
And you're a
Yeah,
friend.
guys.
You're a friend of the show, so we'll hit you up down the road when the Chiefs start slumping. We'll hit you up to get some insight.
That's not going to happen for me.
All right, for Troy and Dave and my audience here, thank you guys. This is Dave Stevens here for the Geary, Stein Stevens Show. Thank you. Wherever you watch, listen, or anything, I'm Dave Stevens. Continue to support our show. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do. That's a wrap.